Today we're going to talk about what I've learned in 2026, writing my first novel, the ups, the downs, what I've taken from it, and what you may be able to take from it as well. Welcome back to Mostly Vanity. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Mostly Vanity. My name's Kennedy, and I'm so excited to be here with you today. This is my show where I talk about books and story and whatever else I want to talk about because, well, it's mostly vanity. So excited to be back once again to talk about what I'm really passionate about and what I've made this channel for primarily is to track my writing. And for those who don't know, I put weekly writing syncs out on Mondays for the first novel I'm ever going to finish. Now, I've written started writing a couple other novels in the past, and I haven't really gotten through them. The first novel I tried to write, I just wasn't super passionate about, but it was a good learning experience. The second one, I was super passionate about, but I didn't really plan it out well, so I'm probably going to come back to that later on. It was also in a different genre. Both of those were in different genres than what I'm writing now, which is fantasy. But I've been on this journey in 2026. My goal is to finish a first draft of my novel. It may be a novella, novel, whatever. It's going to be 40 to 50,000 words is what I'm feeling. But I have a feeling in revisions that's going to grow. Of course, I'm going to talk about that in a little bit, about some of the things I've learned. But I feel like just in the last 6 or 7 months, I've become a better writer, drastically better. Like when I look at chapter 1 to chapter whatever I'm at now, it's noticeable, and there's things where I'm already like, man, I'm gonna have to go back and change that, but that's how it is. I don't if I looked back 6 months ago and thought it was the same writing as I am now, it means I'm not getting better. So I'm happy with that. But I wanted to talk today about some of the things I've learned. This is about halfway. This is going to come out mid-July, I think, and so I'm over halfway done with the year. And I'm very excited about my progress and very confident in my ability to finish the first draft by the end of this year. I'm very excited to get to other things, but I want to really look back on what I've learned on this so far as I'm kind of coming towards the finish line of this project, at least the first draft of it. So here's a lot of things I've learned. To take this in mind, that these are things I've learned that work for me. I'm very much a believer in the fact that as a writer or as an artist of any kind, it's not a science, right? There are things that work for people that we can categorize. But artistry is so individual. And so what works for me may not work for you, right? And I just want to state that very specifically. Because I've heard a lot of advice and tried a lot of advice that people swear by, and it just doesn't work for me, like I really admire Stephen King as a writer. A lot of the ways he writes, I can't write, it's just not how my brain works. And so, yeah, that's one of the main things I've learned is just figuring out what works for me. And that's what a lot of this is going to be. So I think the first thing I've learned throughout all of the novels that I've tried to write, as well as the one I'm going to write and finish, is the more I plan, the smoother the going. And which was something that surprised me because generally as a human being, I'm very structured. I like lists, I like spreadsheets, that's who I am. And that's what it's been in all other aspects of my life. The only thing I can say in the past that hasn't been like that, or very organized, structured, has been my creative process. I spent 10 plus years writing music and poetry and a lot of different things in writing in general before I started writing novels. And for me, like writing a song was very like vibes based is the best way I can say it. Same thing with poetry. Like I have to just kind of be in the flow, and it's not the kind of thing where I sit down and it comes out every time, and I just have to sit there. It's just never been how it's worked for me, and maybe it should be, but that's what I assumed writing novels was going to be for me, and that has not been the case. I more so tie it to like when I was writing papers, like in high school and college, I felt like if the more time I spent on an outline for a paper, the more I knew the direction and the better and smoother the writing process went. Because I've always been able to like put things into words. That's never been my problem. A lot of times it's just getting my ideas together, right? And it's weird to me that it's more similar to that, but I think a lot of it's because of it being a longer form, right? When you're writing a song, I mean, you're writing a handful of lines, a couple verses, chorus, maybe a bridge, a couple, other lyric pieces here if you feel like it. But like, there's nowhere near as much to it. Of course, a lot of effort goes into it, but like a novel is a very large scale project. So I think that's something I've had to adjust to. And I've learned that guide gives me security. And that's helped me a lot. And for this novel, I learned from the last time I tried that I did not really plan it out well. This one I have planned chapter by chapter summaries of this happens here and then this happens. And that's not to say that I haven't had some room to like figure things out, right? I know certain things that I want to happen. Certain things I don't necessarily know how I'm going to get there, but they start connecting dots later, right? So an example is I wrote this character from that was like not a viewpoint character, like a very minor character. I would just plan on making them one scene in the book, of getting a perspective from a different type of person in the scenario of this thing that's happening, and to see like inside the mind of the regular person in society, right? And that character turned into kind of an important character later on. I thought he was just going to be kind of a pop-in character, maybe in future books, kind of like Hoyt in Brandon Sanderson's stuff. Maybe not to his whimsical standards. But yeah, that's a lot to say that having a plan, having a guide has helped me a lot. Now, I've tried not to be too rigid with it, like I said, but enough to where I know the general direction in which I'm heading, and then I can figure a couple of the small details out along the way, right? So next thing I've learned, especially with doing a first draft, is the main goal has been get the idea onto the page, right? I very much think of this whole writing process is like making pottery, right? Or sculpting, right? This first draft part isn't me carving anything. It's me finding the clay and throwing it on the wheel. It's getting the idea on the page. And a lot of times because I'm just getting the idea on the page, I know that there are things that I may want to talk about eventually that I'm not including in the first draft, right? A lot of description pieces is just like is really a main thing I know is going to grow in future drafts. It seems like in a lot of fantasy, people like overwrite and then they cut a lot. To me, it feels like I'm putting down the foundation and then I'm going to build out the pieces that I missed in terms of like context. And that's what it feels like. I think revisions are going to help me flesh out the world a lot. And honestly, I think I'm going to thrive a bit in revisions. And I think having a solid piece of clay to work with, I think my writing's gonna get a lot better going into revisions. But I'm probably gonna put this aside for a bit before I jump straight into revisions. A lot of people have made that recommendation, so I also have some other projects I'm excited about, so I kind of want to get to those, right? Okay, so the other thing I've learned, kind of to that point, is I've learned having a variety of things to work on and not just one thing has helped me a lot. One of the things I started doing is writing, I think I always get this terminology wrong, is it epigraphs? It's like basically the top of the chapter. Sometimes you have a little like lore dump paragraph or something, like a log or logbook or something like that. I've been starting writing those, but the religion of my world is very important. So I've started writing a lot of like religious excerpts from the religious texts, which has been really fun and a really great way to break the monotony of like really kind of stuck at this part in the chapter. And having that variety is going to help me. I want to eventually probably write multiple books at the same time so I can do this. But I for this first novel, I've decided I'm just going to stick with what I have now, right? But I've spent some other time like working on the epigraphs, working on some of my other outlines for stories, but trying not to get too deep into that. I know which story I'm going to write next, and I'm really excited about it. But there's still some stuff I got to figure out before I can start it. So I've spent some time on that, but trying not to get too distracted, if that makes sense. But yeah, that's something I've definitely learned. Like just having that variety has helped me a lot, like just to keep moving forward, and to have something that I can swap back and forth from. I thrive multitasking, I've learned, in a lot of areas of my life. Okay, so the last thing I would say I've learned so far is I kind of have to just put on like the racehorse blinders. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like the racehorses, they have this little like blocked out thing that makes them basically just focus on what's in front of them, because of how their eyes are and such. But just keep moving forward. In my early books, I edited way too much while I was writing. And so I've had to do a lot of things to keep me from doing that. One of which is all my chapters are in separate documents. So if I edit something that happened in a couple paragraphs before, whatever, right? I'm staying in the scope of the chapter. I had a bad habit of, open the manuscript. It's at the beginning of the manuscript. I'm scrolling and I'm like, I see something. I'm like, I gotta change that. Or I don't like the way that's worded. And that's just something I can deal with later. I've learned, I've tried not to make it too much of a crutch, but one of the best things I've done to make progress is to keep going is to say, well, I'll fix it in post, right? I'll fix it in revisions. Like I said before, I think I'm going to thrive in revisions. Hopefully I don't get too lost in the revisions, but that's just kind of where I'm feeling. But yeah, those are the things I've kind of learned for myself, of what's helped me, what I've learned in this process. It's been an amazing process. I feel like I've grown so much as a person, as an artist, as a writer. Like, I'm just so grateful, and I love that I've been able to stay consistent. I've set like a minimum goal. I don't write like 1,000 to 2,000 words a day, more so like a week, right? So I have a full-time job. I've got a family. I've got other crap I have to deal with that I don't want to deal with, but it's life, right? I only have so much time and energy. And so like this week, I really haven't written much yet. But I'm going to, and it's a blessing to be able to do that. It's a blessing to have this passion and just to be able to pursue it, man. No strings attached, no deadlines, no anything. Like I'm doing this because I love it and because I love creating. And it's been such a joy. So thank you for following along. I would love to hear in the comments if there are any writers out there. What's some things you've learned this year about your writing or through the projects you're working on right now? I'd love to hear about them. I'd love to hear if you're not a writer, what questions you have. If you're interested in the process. I'm very interested in the process of artists. So, yeah, that's all I got for today. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Feel free to like, subscribe. Like I said, leave a comment, whatever you would like to leave. I'm also trying to figure out my new setup, which I set up like last week. I'm trying to figure out the lighting. I'm not sure if I like this or not yet. Leave a comment. Let me know if it looks good or looks bad, or if you have any suggestions, because I'm definitely learning about this content creation thing, and trying to do my best to stay consistent with both that and writing. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and I'll see you guys next time.